In the last video, I made a router sled for face routing workpieces without using a thickness planer. It worked well, but I wanted more performance out of it. I made a couple of updates to the build since then, so I thought I'd show them to you today. No, we don't need that. Alright, let's get straight into it. Okay, so after using the sled last time, we had a headstock face like this. After about 5 minutes of sanding, we had this. First move was to pull my old wasteboard from my CNC machine out of the junk pile, so I could repurpose it as a base. There wasn't enough to do the whole thing, but then I'm never going to cut anything that big anyway, so it's fine. I trim it to size on the table saw, then screw it to the rails. Luckily for me, my old wasteboard had holes drilled for threaded inserts, so that's one less thing I have to do. To install the inserts, I slide the gantry off the rails, flip the base, then drill in 95 inserts with a hex key that I cut with an angle grinder, then chucked up in the drill. I have a torn rotator cuff in each shoulder right now, so lifting this was no fun at all. These are the threaded inserts. They take an M5 bolt, which I'll show you later. Once I've set the clutch to set these inserts below the surface of the MDF sheet, it's just a matter of dropping them in the holes and drilling them until the clutch engages. 95 inserts only took a couple of minutes to install. Once they're in, I flip the base back the right way and slide the gantry back on. Okay, so the last time we saw this, it didn't have either of these rails which have been bolted to the gantry at these 3 points. And that's provided a lot of resistance to flex in this downward direction so that when I'm moving the router along the gantry, there's going to be a lot less variation across the surface of the workpiece. Upgrade 2 is the correct router bit for the job. This arrived today and has a wide face, much better than the skinny bearing bit I was using before. So here's our test piece. We're going to clean up the left-hand side of it. It has all kinds of chisel marks, cracks in the wood and whatever that is, so it's nice and rough, perfect to test on. Now the base has inserts, I can use these little clamping spirals to fix the workpiece to the base. Once it's held tightly and the depth has been set on the router, I do my first pass. I then do a second pass to try to get past as many of the surface imperfections as possible. After it's out of the clamps, the left side is ready for a quick sand. There are some irregularities on the piece, but they're from the cheap bit I'm using. The sled itself is rock solid. The last attempt took about 5 minutes to sand at 120 grit. This time took less than a minute. I need to invest in a quality bit for this job, and that will cut it down even more. So the machine itself is doing great, but it's producing a lot of dust. Time to do something about that. The dust hose connection is upgrade 3. I'm sure I'll tweak it some more and add a quality cutter so you'll see more of this sled in the future. I'd like to thank you for joining me for my first update. I'm sure there'll be many more. Now I have to prepare for episode 9 of the Luthiers Workshop build series, where we're going to be making table saw jigs. Lots of them. I hope to see you then.